Hello class, we are going to show you another piece of code. I'm going to show you another piece of code that I wrote that's really cool. It's called getDataType. It takes in a string and it's going to return back to tell you if what's within that string is an int or a float or a string. So let's go down and see. So let's go look at getDataType. It takes in a string. So we're going to pass in 42,500 like we've been doing all along. So what happens is 42,500 comes in and we ask Python to convert it to 42,500. If it equals the float 42,500, they are the same, you will get an int return. Notice I have a try, so if something goes wrong, I then come down here. And then I try to convert it to a float. And if that works, then I say it's a float. Otherwise, it's a string. So let's go through it again. If I take in the string and I convert it to an int and it equals in value to a float, then it's an int. If the conversion goes wrong, something goes wrong, it comes down and tries to convert it to a float, and it returns it as a float. If it's not an int and it's not a float, it returns a string. So use this code to your advantage to help you determine what data type could be in a string. And then what goes back out is either an int, float, or string, and up here I use my code, the return type from this function code, to determine to treat it as a float. So let's run it, and actually if you look at the data, we got some data that's a float and some that's an int, and it will convert them both to be a float because we know an int can become a float, but we don't want a float to become an int because we would lose the 26 cents. So let's run the code. We say OK, and there you go, the code works beautifully. Watch the video again if you're not sure, and experiment with it. Write out to the screen if you're not sure what this code's doing. So actually, I'm going to help you here a little bit. As a debugger, I'm going to write out to the screen the different values. I'm going to say print what that is so you can see. Okay, so for debugging purposes, we can see what's going on. Actually, let's do this. Okay, let's run it. I hope it runs because I'm winging it. Oh, I have an error. What is the problem? Do you know what the problem is? If you said I didn't indent, you are so on it. And very impressive. Let's try running it. Let's hope this works. All right, so see, it takes 42,500. And 42,500 is equal to 42,500, 0. So I'm able to convert it to an int. So as long as the number's equal, it knows it's an integer. Okay. Notice here I passed in 49,75026. So they were not both the same. So then what we do is we come down and we say it's a float. And that's what happens. I hope you enjoyed this code.